Please welcome the Executive Vice President of Corporate Marketing, Jennifer Ortiz.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're as excited as I am to be here tonight. Welcome to our celebration of women in tech. I've been in the tech industry for 20 plus years, and most of that time has been spent at Progress. I've seen the tech industry evolve. I can remember in my early days of Progress, standing at a window with some colleagues and looking outside, and they were taking a photo of the executive team. The executive team at that time was made up of mostly exclusively men. Fast forward 20 years, and today our executive team and our Progress board is made up of, has increased much diversity, which has been so exciting to live through. The subject of diversity is something I am passionate about because diversity of thought spurs innovation. With that, I'm thrilled to introduce somebody who's been a fierce advocate for diversity in our industry, our CEO, Progress CEO, Yogesh Gupta. Thank you, Yogesh.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen. Good, really kind remarks. How's everybody doing? You had a good day, I hope. I hope the sessions have been going well. I hope you're learning something and getting inspired and getting engaged, and it's wonderful to be back. You know, we're here to celebrate diversity and women in tech. And the reason why this is really important is that really it is good for business. It's not just a nice thing to do. Of course, it's the nice thing to do. It's the right thing to do. But it's also good for business. Right? Diversity leads to much better innovation. Diversity leads to different perspectives and different viewpoints, which leads to better products, a better understanding of new markets. There have been study after study after study. People often ignore the data, but there has been study after study that shows diverse organizations outperform non-diverse organizations. So there's a lot of data. It's the right thing to do because, after all, as humans, we must treat everyone the same. And it is good for a business when they do it. But unfortunately, not everyone gets the same opportunity. And so creating opportunities for everyone is really something that is near and dear to the hearts of people at Progress, or to progressors, as we call ourselves. We want to help drive interest in STEM at an early age, get children involved. We think it is extremely critical, by the way, for children to have opportunities in education and through STEM education to be able to change their lives. You know, I'm where I am. It's a combination of a whole lot of luck and education. Right? You know, without education, I wouldn't be here. And my parents basically said, we will support you as much as we can, get the best education possible. You're on your own. That'll be our legacy for you. And it has been just wonderful to have had that push. And so we want to make sure that children have the opportunity, underprivileged children, people of color, and so on. We also want to make sure that we promote women in tech. And really, an organization that is absolutely the best at this, it is literally the largest organization in the world to promote women and non-binary technologists, is an organization that I hope you've heard of, but if you haven't, you will hear now of, AnitaB.org. And so instead of me talking a lot about it, let's run the video on AnitaB.org.
Last year, just 26% of professional computing occupations in the US were held by women. Of that, 3% were African American women, 7% Asian women, and only 2% of the computing workforce were Hispanic women. The numbers speak for themselves, which is why we must speak out against being underrepresented and underpaid when we're overeducated and overqualified. At AnitaB.org, we see a future in tech where everyone has the ability to realize their full potential and to ensure that women have a seat and a voice at the table. We are cultivating a global community where everyone belongs, regardless of their identity. We are here to seize this moment, to transform the narrative in pursuit of equity and justice. At AnitaB.org, we envision a future where the people who imagine and build technology mirror the people and societies for whom it's being built. We are on a mission to create a just tech ecosystem that values women technologists, including those who are systemically overlooked. We empower with information, resources, and connection to community. We amplify voices and stories and celebrate accomplishments. We advocate for inclusivity by transforming institutions that instruct, invest in, and employ technologists. Our progress is made at all stages of a woman's technical journey, from education, recruitment, hiring, pay, advancement, and access to capital. That progress is evident. Just look at our data. We will not be silent, not until we achieve our mission and realize our vision. This is the power of our community. It will fuel the future of technology for everyone, everywhere. This is AnitaB.org.
And AnitaB.org, or AnitaB.org, is actually led by a remarkable woman herself. Brenda Darden Wilkerson, is a leader in providing access, opportunity, and justice for underrepresented communities in tech. She has been a champion of this cause for a very long time. Equality for women as well as non-binary technologists has been her big passion, and she has brought that passion to AnitaB.org as well. She launched a program in Chicago called Computer Science for All, which led to President Obama taking that program and modeling the Computer Science for All program for the entire nation. So it's a pleasure and an honor to invite Brenda Darden Wilkerson up on stage. Come on up, Brenda. It's a pleasure. Please. So Brenda, at a high level, AnitaB.org helps women and non-binary technologists make progress in tech.
Yes.
But what do you actually do? How do you do that? What are the things you do?
That's a great question. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. It's so exciting to be here. I started out as a developer 1,000 years ago and have moved into the role that I have now because I'm excited about what we do. Our job is to make the table where tech is created as diverse as the populations that it serves, which is everyone. And so we work to make sure that there are multiple pathways into tech available to everyone. Many times you'll hear people talk about the pipeline. Mm-hmm. That sounds kind of sequential to me. I went through that sequential pipeline. I went right to school and then right into my career. But there are so many people who have amazing skills in other verticals. They might be on their second or third degree, second or third career, and they want to get into tech. And so we want to make sure that there are pathways for them as well. So that's what we do. We build those pathways in. We also help organizations, whether they're colleges, companies, institutions that give funding to have the type of culture that is welcoming to people of all backgrounds, and that those barriers are down so that the access is easier for them to come and contribute.
You know, that is a lot to do. So how did you personally get involved in AnitaB.org?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, I was working in education after, I had sort of a circuitous route to this particular location. I went from developing to education, and then actually at the college level. This opportunity came to go to a K-12 education space, which I swore I'd never do. Both my parents were high school teachers. I thought I'd had enough of that, seen enough of that. But I went in at the administration level in Chicago, which is the third largest district in the country. Mm-hmm. And what I found there is the assumption was that, and this will talk a little bit about when this happened, that all of the work that we do, that you do, was offshored. And so therefore, our students didn't need to learn it. And I knew better. And so that was the impetus for me to say, no, I think everyone should have this opportunity. And so I was doing that work and really hadn't finished it yet. But when I got an opportunity to work with President Obama's initiative, I met Megan Smith, which was the CTO of the United States. And she was actually the one that connected me with the organization when my predecessor was rolling off. And I thought, I remember that part of the ecosystem, and I remembered the experiences that I had, and I wanted another opportunity to come over and help women to have those opportunities that I didn't have. And so that was really the start of my work with AnitaB.org.
And, the importance of, diversity in tech should be obvious, but, let me ask you, why do you think it is important?
Well, ideas come when you're solving problems that are not necessarily obvious to the people sometimes that are closest to them. Mm-hmm. And so when you have a situation where we're all from the same place, in the same space, and we all have the same language, and we're all nodding and going along and finishing each other's sentences, that's when you should get worried. Because then the innovation edge has gotten dull. Mm-hmm. Because you have a bunch of people who probably have some answers right in front of them that they can't see. But you introduce someone from a different background or some people, and I'm talking about all types of diversity. Age is an important diversity. You talk about physical ability. Mm-hmm. We did a webinar series with 5 women who were in the AR/VR space, and they talked about some of the things that just having one woman on the team, they found things as simple as some of the sound in the headset stopped working when it hit curly hair. Now, who would know? And how many, I've had headsets that stop working when my hair hits them. And I thought, oh, it's just something that I'm doing, right? But that means that they didn't have a diverse team in testing. And many times it's too late once it gets out on the market to make those changes, and you just have a product failure. So that's just one simple example of how important it is to have everyone covered. If you have a person who perhaps is missing a limb, and you have a body set that goes across the body that assumes you have 2 limbs, when it gets to that person, it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And don't we want it to work for everyone, right? And it's a good business decision. And so that's why we push for diversity. It's also an economic imperative. GDP, the amount of GDP that we miss nationally and internationally because we just don't have the entire workforce engaged is astronomical. Mm-hmm. So we could sit here all day and I could give you reasons.
It's kind of interesting because, when you think about it, people are talking about this dearth for talent. But if we really tapped into the actual overall large talent pool, I think we'd be in a very different place.
Yes. There's one talk that Melody Hobson gives that I love, and one of the things that she says is, when we talk about a shortage of talent, she really doesn't believe that that's a real thing, because she believes, and I do too, that there is someone that can take any job. They can learn to do it, they can be trained to do it. They just many times don't know about it, and they've not been given the opportunity. And wouldn't we have a different world if that were the case?
So if it is that obvious, why is it such a challenge?
I think it's habit. I think it's habit. One of the things that Admiral Grace Hopper, we name our conference after, says is the most dangerous phrase in the English language is, we've always done it that way. And we either say it or we do it. And it's just normal. Things are normal. And the people who are centered continue to be the ones that they choose. It's called affinity bias. You go after people who look like you or talk like you. It's actually cognitively stressing initially when you're around people who are different. When I went to London recently for London Tech Week. And they speak English there, right? That's English? I couldn't quite tell it though, you know? And for the first few days, I had a headache because I was trying my best to understand what they were saying, and there was this like 20-second delay, right? And I think sometimes that's what we get into when we get around people who we're not used to being around, and they aren't using the same acronyms that we use, they don't come from the same sorority or fraternity we come from, you name it, right? And so we inadvertently go, I'm gonna go with that person who looks like me, talks like me, sounds like me, is excited like I am, or an introvert like I am, or whatever. And we rob ourselves of that, of the ability to be tested and tried a little bit, because I had to think about it a little bit more when listening to them, and I had to consider some things that I just don't consider on a daily basis because it was new and it was different. But I tell you what, I left better.
Yeah.
And you will every time.
So you mentioned Grace Hopper, and you have this wonderful conference and celebration coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, the Grace Hopper celebration this year, we've limited it to 15,000 people in person and 15 online. We've had as many as 30,000 people in person, but it started with 600 people. And our founder, Anita Borg, was at an engineering conference years and years ago where there were only 12 women. So this is the story. I always have to tell this story. And you know, as we do, we met up in the bathroom, right? And we were like, look, we got to do something about this. And out of that came the Grace Hopper celebration. And that first celebration had 600 people. And part of what we wanted, we call it a celebration because, and you're all invited. When you sit in a room with that many women, when you're told that we don't exist, there aren't that many of us, we're still breaking in. You saw those numbers, right? Those numbers are those of us who are in. It's not those of us who are trained and ready to go. You know, I'm not developing anymore, but I'm a developer, and I'm not in that number anymore. Okay, so the physicality of sitting in that room really inspires both men and women. In fact, I found out about the Grace Hopper celebration the first time from 2 male teachers who came to me when I was an administrator and asked me if I would fund their way there. And I was like, well, what is it? When they described it to me, where we have Abby Awards, where women who've done amazing things, we give them an award, we give them a stage. We have open source day, we have all types of technical stuff that all of us would love, right? You just see a bunch of women. And I asked them why they were interested. And they were able to say how differently they came back to their classrooms and saw that they were really teaching to men. They were teaching to boy students. And from being in that situation where they were in the minority, they began to understand what that was like. And they came back and they made a better classroom. So it is an amazing opportunity for us to get together. We network, we learn together, and most importantly, we leave inspired to go back and change the world, and that's what we do.
Yes, I am coming next time.
Absolutely, once you're there.
You know, all of us here are technologists in the audience. What advice would you give them to help change the situation, to help make it better?
Yes. Gosh, I could give you lots of advice. First of all, listen. When a woman technologist says that she's experiencing something different, don't discount it. If it's different for her, it's different for her. It doesn't mean that it's bad. It's nothing necessarily you did. It's just different, right? And so listening is really important. I would say one of my pet peeves is when we talk to companies about increasing their diversity around women or diversity period, they start talking about the meritocracy. as though those two things don't go together, right? And so these are just habits. You know, this is not saying you're bad for doing this. It's just a habit. This is the culture. So it's like, let's take a look at what we've been doing and make a difference. And then I want to recommend a really good book to you that I'm listening to right now. It's called Invisible Women by Carolyn Criada Perez. And it talks about data. We all are swimming in data. We love data, right? Until the data is inclusive of everyone, then the products that we make will not be. And so as developers, we have to ask, is everyone in the room? Is everyone at the table? Is my data inclusive? And you can ask that question as much as I can or any other woman can too. And so when the awareness, I've even said to my board, I said, you know what, when people recruit from their same 5 schools all the time, and they were like, well, they don't have any of those women or people, differently able people. I said, but they're just making what you buy. If you would demand, if you would say to them, where are I guarantee you by next fall, the population at your favorite college would change. So you are actually the most important change makers there are, because you know what it takes to be in this industry. So speak out.
You know, I completely agree with you. It's like when you are looking to recruit people. I remember, Jen mentioned that, we now have, 3 out of 8 independent board members are women. When I got here, that was still 0. And we happened to have a couple of openings. And I just told the recruiter, the executive search firm, we need 2, and I only want to see women's resumes. And they were like, but what about the rest of the board? I said, that's what I want you to send them. It's the board's decision, but send only women's resumes. Literally, we got 50 phenomenal women's resumes. Every single one of them would have been an honor for me to have on our board. Right? It's a matter of what you look for.
That's right. And one of them is my board chair.
And one of them is actually
is awesome.
Yes, Angela is actually also on your board, so yes. It's a delight to have a common board member. It's a fascinating, small world, right, yeah. in many ways. I really appreciate, everything that the Anita B. Org organization does. It is to me just an amazing thing, and I heard about it from male colleagues long time ago as well. Awesome. Many years ago, back when it was much smaller. We at Progress have been trying to support women as well, and, especially with scholarships yes. for women in college. Mm-hmm. So an interesting thing has happened. We have created a scholarship series for women who are going to study STEM in college, and we created that in honor of Mary C.K. Now, a lot of people at Progress may have heard of Mary C.K., but a lot of people at Progress have no idea who Mary C.K. was. So Mary C.K. was our 4th founder, and she was not only the 4th founder, she was the leader of the engineering team. She was the first developer, and she actually led the engineering team that built our first product, and a phenomenal woman who in 1981 joined the company and became a very strong force of the company's success over the next 3 decades. She left Progress finally when her health wouldn't let her continue, and I never got to meet her because I only joined the company 6 years ago. And when she passed away, we decided to create a scholarship in her name to support women in tech. And she, to me, it is remarkable how many women have been in tech. Mm-hmm. But if you ask people, right. I think you and I were talking about this, hey, can you name half a dozen women in tech?
Yes. Can I share that story?
You were the one who was telling me that. And people just draw blanks. Yeah. It's a fascinating thing. So Mary C.K. was this wonderful woman, and so we created the scholarship. We have also expanded the scholarship, and we actually have been offering that scholarship in Bulgaria, Sofia, because we have a significant presence there, our employees there, and our own presence there. We also just this year, for the first time, created a scholarship for women in India as well too when going to college, just to support them through that. So what I want to do is actually, we've had 3 recipients in the US over the last 3 years, because the scholarship was started just a little bit over 3 years ago. And I think even though they are at college, but we are in a virtual environment and a hybrid environment, I think they should be able to join us. And so what I would like to do is see if Kaya Darogi, who is a junior at Columbia University and was the first recipient of the Mary C.K. Scholarship, and Gabriela Myers, who was the second recipient. She's a sophomore at Wesleyan. And the latest one is Yiming Fang, who just started at Carnegie Mellon. And they're all doing computer science majors, phenomenal young women. Welcome. So we're just going to have a conversation with them. How's that, right? So hey, by the way, how's school going?
It's good. It's going well. Second week of classes.
Great. What kind of classes are you taking?
I'm in my junior year now at Columbia in the engineering school, so I'm taking a lot of computer science classes. I'm taking physics lab, and I'm also TAing 2 classes this semester.
You don't have enough to do, huh? You want to TA 2 classes. How about you, Gabriela? How is it going, and what are you taking?
Yeah, my classes are going great. I also just had my 6th day of school today. I started off the morning bright and early with meditation, and then I had my computer science class and my math class.
Wonderful. Wow. And
That's a great
Yiming
habit.
Fang, how about you? You're a freshman. How does it feel to be at college for the first time?
Yeah, it's been great. I've been at Carnegie for 3 weeks now. This is the 3rd week of classes. I really like a lot of my professors. I like the work that we've been doing, and we just had club fairs, so it's cool to start getting involved in the extracurriculars on campus as well.
Any surprises so far, Yiming Fang, since this is your first year?
I thought it was really cool how much flexibility that we get in designing our schedules, and then figuring out when we want to study, where we want to study. There's a lot of options to go to different places on campus, and also there's so many organizations to get involved in. It's a lot bigger than high school. It's really cool.
All of you used to do just amazing set of activities during high school, right? We've gotten to know each other virtually over the last 3 years. And are you still continuing any of your activities outside of STEM? Let's start with Gabriela. How's that?
Yeah, so all throughout high school and actually elementary school as well, I played the piano and I ran for the cross-country team and the track team. I still continue to run every day at school. It's my way of relaxing and not being stressed out. But I'm not running on the school team. I joined the rock climbing team, which is less of a time commitment, so I can do other things as well.
And what about you, Kaya?
Yeah, I'm definitely keeping myself busy. You can see in the back, I have some art up there. So I do making at Columbia. So I'm one of the monitors for the art shop at Columbia. And then I also ski race in the winter for Columbia. And I'm really into startups and entrepreneurship. So one of the classes I'm teaching is called Venturing to Change the World. So I'm very into the startup and VC community here at Columbia.
Excellent.
And Yiming Fang, any thoughts on what you want to do? I know you just got there, so you should probably study at least for the first year or so. But any thoughts about doing more than that?
I did varsity swim in high school. I made a lot of really good friends there. So I'm actually joining the club swim team at Carnegie. I contacted them at Club Fair, but the first practices haven't really started yet. And I also, like Gabriela said, I got into bouldering this summer. So I want to join. They have a climbing team here. So I was going to go climbing with them once or twice a week as well.
We also have Brenda Darden Wilkerson here with us. So Brenda, do you have any questions for these wonderful young ladies? Or if you have any questions for Brenda,
I have a geeky question. So what's your favorite programming language?
My favorite programming language is Java. Almost all of the Columbia classes are taught in Java. And at my internship, where I was a software engineer at Amazon, I also coded in Java for the whole summer.
Cool. Gabriela?
Mine is definitely Python. I've only taken 2 computer science classes so far. I'm starting my third one, but Python was just a lot easier for me to understand, and I have more experience with it as well.
Okay, thanks.
And Yiming Fang?
I'd say also Java, mostly because like I've only had a full year of APCSA so far, and that was taught in Java. So I don't really know much about Python or C yet.
Perfect. You know, it is, you know, you guys are already like, you know, way ahead. At their age, Java was a cup of coffee for me.
That's right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'd love to hear what your aspirations are. What impact do you want to have on tech and then by extension on your society and the world?
Yeah. So ever since I walked into my first computer science class in high school, I felt so isolated because I was the only girl and one of the only Latinas. And I have this vision of a world where a girl can walk into a classroom and not feel like she doesn't belong, because that was the very first thing I thought of. And I continue to feel that. And there's so many efforts going on in college. There's so many programs going on in the US that are trying to address this issue, but still it's an ongoing issue, and still the ratio in my class is really high, very high ratio of boys to girls. So that's something I really want to change.
I'm with you. I'm working on it.
Brenda will help you in any way she can.
I will.
Thank you.
And what about you, Yingming Fan?
Similarly to Gabriella, I started in CS freshman year. I started doing robotics. It was a class of like 20 people and a club of more like 60, 70. And I'd say there's less than, I think, 10 girls in the club when I joined. And my first year, like I didn't get to do too much, but I did notice that like even within the club, a lot of the females were more doing like the documentation roles, whereas like the team leads or like the programming and building leads were usually like the guys with all the experience. Sophomore year, I actually started my own team with like a bunch of girls, and we started off really new, but we helped each other learn, and we ended up qualifying for Worlds, which was really cool.
Woohoo!
That's right.
So I just think that like when given like a chance and like brought together, like we can do really great things, even though we started off with basically no experience.
That's right.
So I think it'd be cool to like bring more people, especially females and underrepresented groups, into CS
That's awesome.
and STEM in general.
That's awesome.
And Kaya?
Yeah, of course. I'd say I'd share the similar thing as Gabriella and Yiming. I'd say I was really lucky in that I had an older sister who was studying engineering. My mom studied biochemistry, and my mom's mom also was in STEM. So I always had these female role models to look up to within my own family who are passionate and studying STEM. But not everyone has that opportunity. So I think it's really important that we encourage women to pursue STEM. I remember when I was 5 or 6 years old with my older sister, we would go to the Children's Science Museum and do all these fun STEM activities. And that really helped me spark my interest in STEM. And now here in college, I'm really involved in the Society of Women Engineers. And I'd say I'd really love to see more women in STEM. It's so important on increasing the diversity, increasing innovation, and ultimately making a positive impact on the others in the world.
That's great. That's fantastic. And know that you are role models for others. So don't take that for granted, okay? They're looking at you. Little girls are looking at you. Older women are looking at you. You are the example and setting an amazing example. So keep that up.
So, you know, community activities, right? I mean, you also used to be involved in wonderful community activities in high school. Any opportunity to stay involved in any of those while you're in college? We'll start with you, Kaya. This is, you know, pick someone. Let's go with Kaya.
Yeah, of course. Like, as I mentioned, I'm involved in the Society of Women's Engineers at Columbia. And through that program, we do a lot of different outreach within the community in New York City, specifically through Harlem at the Discovery Center, helping students pursue STEM here at Columbia with like extra classes. And I'm also involved in a sorority, and we do outreach for Service for the Blind within the New
Excellent.
York City community.
Excellent.
Wow. And what about you, Gabriela?
Yeah, so in high school, I helped lead two main initiatives to try to bring more diversity into computer science. One was by implementing coding and programming projects into the the freshman math curriculum. So all freshman students would have an equal exposure to computer science. And the other one was by starting this club or starting a chapter of the club called Technovation at my school to try to bring more girls with business interests, with tech interest into a computer science classroom just to see what it's like. And the numbers of girls who joined the computer science classroom ended up growing after that. So I'm still in contact with the teachers at my high school who helped me lead those initiatives to see what the numbers are like now and 4 years later and 8 years later.
That's
And
excellent.
yeah.
That's excellent.
Great. Making an impact already.
Yeah.
And Yiming, how about you?
Yeah, so at Mass Academy, my friend and I started this Scratch Club for third graders at a charter school in Worcester. We taught them like just Scratch and introduced them to the ideas of programming without getting bogged down by like the syntax. And so we've since passed the club down to current seniors. And at CMU, I was thinking of doing something similar with the Girls Who Code Club here. I visited them at the club fair and they said that they teach at like elementary schools and middle schools in the Pittsburgh area. So I was gonna join them and then either go and like teach the lessons or maybe work on like curriculum design, something like that.
It's awesome.
You know, Brenda, they're doing so amazingly well on their own. Do you have any piece of advice for them?
Keep it up, right? You have that fire. I see the passion. You're obviously brilliant. So don't let anybody tell you differently, right? Don't let anyone wipe away that shine. And remember, it's not just about going to work for someone else. You have the power to create your own. Create your own business, create jobs for others, create products that serve communities that are not necessarily being served now. Use your perspective. And when you get done, when you finish, because you'll look around and you'll be done with school, and you're looking for what to do next, make sure that you bring all of that wonder that we've gotten to share in, just a little bit of it today, bring it with you. Set your own pattern, because that's what tech needs. We need to see what you have, and it's amazing. And I can't wait to see what you're going to become.
Thank you. And from you, I had asked earlier, asked Brenda earlier to give advice to this audience as to, how they can help increase diversity. I'll ask you a similar question. As from your perspective, you'll be joining the workforce in the next few years or several years, depending on when you finish your education. What would you tell the audience here, who's all themselves technologists or leading technology teams, about engaging with the next generation, your generation of tech professionals? Any advice for them? So, Gabriela?
Yeah, I would say encourage people to use their difference as their greatest asset, because just like kind of let the difference shine, because the way you grew up, you know so much more than someone else who grew up in such a different way. So definitely let that difference shine.
Kaya, anything from you?
Yeah, Gabrielle, that was absolutely amazing advice. I would say never, never give up. This is my favorite piece of advice. Fall 100 times, get up 101 times, and help those around you when you can, of course, always.
Anything from you, Yiming?
Both of those are great. I would say just really make sure that like information about like opportunities and ways to grow are being shared with everyone, not just like a certain group of people. So for example, both my parents, like neither of them are in CS, which is why I didn't get introduced to it in high school, but I appreciated so much that like my school let me know about like CS and it presented those opportunities. So just making sure that learning opportunities like that are available for everyone.
That's so true.
You know, it's a delight for us to have you as our scholarship winners, It's been all through the pandemic. So even though you and I have had conversations more than once over the last few years, we've never actually physically met. Hopefully one of these days we will. Thank you for joining us virtually. Stay with us for a few more minutes, while we finish up this program. And then, after that, thank you and enjoy your evening, right? Ladies and gentlemen, phenomenal young ladies who are changing the So, Brenda, before we wrap up, I would like to give from Progress, a gift to anitab.org. So, Jen, come on up. There you go.
Thank you so much.
And,
Thank you.
Hopefully it helps anitab.org do better and, impact a few more women.
Thank you. I'm honored to receive it. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We will put this to very good use.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jen. So we have come to the conclusion of this. I want to encourage all of you. There are a couple of more events around helping children with respect to their education. So on Wednesday morning, right outside here in the foyer, there's going to be something that we call Mimosas with a Mission. Right? And so show up there. We will be stuffing backpacks with school supplies and donate to a middle school for economically disadvantaged girls. And the school is called Our Sisters School. So we'll be doing that Wednesday morning. We will also separately be donating iPads to a program called Kids in Tech, which is a project which supports after-school STEM programs for low-income kids in both Boston and in Lowell. So please, join us, help as well if you feel like it. And of course, let's head out there. I think we're going to have drinks and some food and so on. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of the conference too. Thank you.